Patch 5.2, Season of the Bear. A lot of changes came through. I am here on GWENT.1 with their changelog. The link is going to be in the description when I make this into a video. I want to talk about the changes that we see in this patch. Now, we didn't see 100 changes like last time, but we did see a number of tweaks that will be present for the GWENT Masters games, the tournament that is happening on the 14th and 15th. The sad news, however, the get-together, the GWENT Masters viewing party, it looks like it's not going to happen due to the global event that's going on here, the coronavirus that is affecting lots of stuff, the economy all over the world, and esports events all over the world. Famously, Intel Extreme Masters in Katowice was canceled. The public part of it was canceled. They still played it, much like Masters will still be played, but there was no event surrounding it, I believe. And it's really sad when this happens because you can't be mad at anybody. It's really sad when you have, especially, I mean, it's sad for everybody. It's sad for everybody involved. It's sad for Hannah-chan, the fact that, I think that he was the first sort of part of this, all sort of turning into what it is. The fact that we couldn't even have all the competitors at first. It was visa issues. Obviously, there's lots of stuff to consider, but the thing is, it's not getting any better, right? So hopefully it starts to get better, because international events for someone who has to travel across an ocean, I think about these things a lot. So it's really too bad. I just wanted to start off with that because that's news as of this morning. But also news as of this morning is the new patch. We have Season of the Bear, and we have 5.2. So first of all, Becker's Dark Mirror. Now, this came along also. I can also look at this on GWENT, playgwent.com, where they actually have their reasoning. And I'll talk about the reasoning because I read it already, and I'll try to remember what they said. But they have reasoning for all of these nerfs. I mean, they usually do. We've seen it in the YouTube videos and the live streams that they do as well. They want to stay very connected to, they don't want to just change stuff and just leave us wondering for the most part. So, Becker's Dark Mirror, it's a combo card that's priced too high in their eyes, and they just wanted to lower the price so it could see more play. So, whether or not this becomes a meta combo remains to be seen, but I think we would see it sooner rather than later. It's interesting also, there are 10 days or so left until the Masters tournament, likely less days for the players to lock in and send their lists over. So these players are probably hard at work in the mines, making sure that all the stuff that they planned still works or something new could be considered. So Becker's Dark Mirror, will it be considered? We don't know. But here's something that no one else can consider. Caretaker Siege. Probably my favorite change in the entire patch. Again, it's not really because of the oppressiveness of this card. It's just, it felt like I was playing, I don't know how to word this nicely. I just think that this was a shitty combo, and I'm really glad it's gone. I'm really, really glad it's gone, because it's just so frustrating to lose to it because of the counterable nature of the combo. And the fact that you can see it coming and it's like, fuck this card, man. It's a card that has an ability that I feel like can't really be balanced without just making it impossible to put into a deck. But I just don't think even people are still playing Renew on the ladder for this card, which is so sad. So gone are the days of Caretaker playing scenarios twice. Nilfgaard still has options, and they should, and I'm fine with that. But Caretaker is just a new card now. It's a 9 provision, 7 strength, neutral card. Relict, which doesn't matter. Purifies a unit on Zeal with an order, much like how Margarita works with Northern Realms. And has a cooldown of 2, so the Caretaker can repeatedly purify. And that makes him like a slightly... I mean, I feel like it's a side grade to Gremist, and a Skellige probably won't run this card, but it's another Purify option that isn't... I mean, I don't think it's that standout. One thing that it's notable is that it's a 7-strength card that has a non-trivial ability. So if you're just looking for points in a value game where you're countering something, Caretaker at 7... It's just, it's an amount of points that if you're purifying something that's going to cost you a card or even just a couple of bleeds, you're specifically countering Defender. This card can Like stopping defender was already. I think the appeal of Caretaker is that now you can tech for those things and not really give up the tempo or like the points, right? Necessarily. So it's good. It's not an Elder Bear, you know? It's not an Elder Bear. It's a nice giant if he's not so good, which is really only 2 provisions worse. I think we'll see Caretaker because Purify is relevant, always, I think, for a while. Teshemutna's sword just got reduced in cost. They didn't want it to be too close to Alzur's Thunder. So, I mean, I think it's interesting. I think it's got the niche appeal that Champion's Charge does, where sometimes you just play Champion's Charge for 5, and it does what you need it to do because you're still removing a crucial unit like a Skellen or a Damien or whatever. So you have this option, but this also can one-shot, Hefty Helga if you need to do that. If you need to counter some like Suprema Dahlia play. I don't really know. There's not a huge shielded unit since Gregoire is not really in the meta anymore that this card would severely counter, but this would definitely keep Gregoire down if he ever came back again. Oh, and we got some cool changes here. Now we got to talk about the monster changes, which are actually interesting. Actually quite interesting, I think. Not just like minor changes here. So the Crones. Morntart stuck in the middle here, but the Crones have all been buffed. Brewis isn't getting that side grade treatment like Caretaker, like where they put it in yellow. So Brewis, Weavis, and Wispus are all 7 provisions now. Woo! Now that's all right. They all still have their same text. So, and Brewis is now the same strength that she used to be at 5. So all the ladies are back next to each other on the deck builder, probably. That kind of thing. And you would consider playing this combo again. This combo is pretty fine. Like it's been changed so many times. The Crones and all their iterations have always been designed to work together. But so they've always had their provisions changed up and down, their strength changed up and down. And now they have another tweak here, and I think that this is I'm probably gonna put them into a deck because 7 is interesting. Whenever you play a Crone. Yeah, that's right. And you can't play this with Penitent. So, I mean, that's fine. You wouldn't want to, and you wouldn't be considering it. I think it's really cool. I think it's cool. Morntart was just made a little bit cheaper. This is it's just another card that monsters have access to that can be removed with like obviously hard removal or resets deal with this card. So Last Say becomes important. Last Say is always important for monsters. Ozrel is likely just as big a play. You wouldn't play both together because Morntart and Ozrel, I mean, they kind of counterproductive, but I don't know. I just think that this card is too risky to play, but making it more affordable to play at least makes it more likely to see experimentation, and I think that's the Becker's Mirror argument as well, and I'm down with that. Tactical Decision and Glennis straight up nerfed. Tactical Decision was a lot of provisions for sure. I don't even know if this nerf is... It's funny, this nerf doesn't seem consistent with other leader nerfs. Other leader nerfs I feel like were a bit harsher. Like 17 is high up there. Thought they'd go down to 15. I don't really see why. I mean, you're playing 2 cards in a turn. It is what it is. Glennis and Percival both took an armor nerf. Now it's a little bit more. I love the reasoning they used in their blog where they said they don't have to concede to their existence because you're more likely to be able to remove them. Yennefer's Invo now only removes a unit. Artifacts no longer targeted. Kind of lining up with the previous ideas that artifact removal should be a neutral thing now, and there should only be like a couple of cards that do that. So something that no faction does better than the rest, which Nilfgaard was doing, and now they're not. Trebuchet and Ancrate Longship also in a similar nerf. Trebuchet lost its inspired ability. Now ranged row absolutely matters. Movement's out there, but Northern Realms doesn't have a lot of it. And this is the only change to Northern Realms, is this nerf. So I think that Northern Realms maybe deserved a little bit more of a look. And I'm sure this is a database decision. And Siege is a very strong card. So without nerfing Siege, nerfing the parts of Siege, it's just a softer touch. So I think that it's just, it can be rationalized to me. So it's like nothing I'm mad about. even though I like the card, and I've always loved this card. But I got to give a shout out. This card, much like, I mean, actually not much like anything. This card right here, I would hate to find out that I'm on the wrong screen right now. Well, I'm good. I'm on the right screen. This card right here, Reinforced Trebuchet, has been mostly true in spirit to its original form. Always pinging. Like, it's always like a ping thing. It's a ping thing, you know? But anyway, I think it's fine. It's fine. It was quite a buff to give it this in the first place. That was in the Great Northern Realms Overpowering of 2019. Deadeye Ambush and Precision Strike. Ambush taking a hit, Precision Strike taking a bigger one in Provisions, losing 1 and 2 respectively. Scoia'tael's power is hard to deny. There's Percival's nerf as well. And finally, at the bottom 3 here, we have Great Oak. Now is a 7 strength card, but still ultimately still the same card. And they talked about how the card hasn't changed since it was released. It's been a big card. It sees play in almost every Scoia'tael deck. So it's less attractive, but I still think it's going to see play. But it's just a little bit less strong. Waters of Broccolon. Now, would you pay 12 for this spell all the time? 2 Dryad Fledglings. Not the most uncounterable thing in the world. And fitting stuff in for Scoia'tael definitely starts getting difficult when you lose potentially 3 points. 2 to 3 points in your deck. So, you know, how important is it? I think Waters of Broccolon is still a very good card. Mystic Echo, obviously, hurts Mystic Echo a lot because they got the provisions got really tight in that deck. So, but that's a strong deck. Scoia'tael is a strong faction. So yeah, Dryad Ranger. Arguably, I mean, this nerf is clearly a nerf. It only pings for 1 now instead of 2, but the poison nature of it kind of felt like sometimes the ping didn't matter because it's like I'm either killing something or marking something to die. But I think when you didn't have the poison, it was just, you know, you already have Trained Hawk. So many of these so many Harmony Engines. It's probably just fine. This seems like a real light touch as well. Skellige nerfs. Second Wind takes a hit in Provisions by 1, and Wild Boar of the Sea goes up by 1. Wild Boar of the Sea for sure needed a nerf, and, you know, this is a nerf, but it's still so good. I think this card's still pretty good. Still going to be a pretty defining card for Skellige. Anchorite Longship, much like Trebuchet, takes a hit in its own way, but this is less important because really the survivability seems roughly the same. So this seems like a side grade. But being able to play it between Freya's Blessing nerfing all cards that are resable, which I would say this is a res candidate in a lot of decks. It's just like an overall points nerf. But they took 1 point away from this card where they took potentially like many points away from Trebuchet. I don't think it's really the same. It's not really comparable. But I think it's still within the same lines. Freya's Blessing now dooms the unit it brings back. This really changes the 1 of 2 of situation for Skellige Bronze deck building, which I find interesting. I don't think this overly hurts any strategy that wants to use Freya's, because usually if you can't take one thing, you're taking another thing, and you would build your deck like that anyway, because maybe you just kind of have your bronzes at the bottom of the deck and you don't get to play them. You always want something that's worth Freya's. So I think that this changes the round 2 bleed situation for Skellige as well, because they can't just, you know, res all the stuff all the time. You have to just think about it a little bit. But there's lots of cards that create cards. Like, let's say, we got a sub coming in. Woko World, thanks so much for the Twitch Prime sub. Welcome and thanks for the support. So anyway, I think that there are cards that create cards. Runestone is already kind of out there for Skellige, so maybe you have an extra bronze that you wouldn't mind resing, and you always make that consideration when you play Runestone. You have the Scenario, which creates a couple of units if you wanted to perhaps change. I don't think that's going to be a thing, but, you know, just an example of something that creates units for Skellige. So I think that this isn't going to hurt it as much, but I think it definitely changes the play pattern and changes the way you look at, you know, when I want to play this greatsword if my opponent has removal for it. I can't just play like, all right, I have one greatsword, plus I have Freya's Blessing and Triss Telekinesis in hand, so I can just play my greatsword forever until it sticks. You just can't really do that anymore. So forcing Skellige to play this, I feel like this forces Skellige to play smarter and not necessarily just like nerfs them overall like, oh, I can't believe this. I think you just have to play a little bit smarter, and I think that nerfs like that are always welcome in Gwent in my world. And finally, in Syndicate, Blood Money and Wildcard both took a hit by one provision. Wildcard's nerf was inviting more leader abilities into Syndicate in the first place, and I've played against a lot of Blood Money and off the books, Congregate here and there, and Wildcard still shows up from time to time. Jackpot and Lined Pockets. I mean, Jackpot's probably the worst one out there. And, but I mean, I still, like, I don't see it very often. You don't see Jackpot very often, but, you know. I still see Force of Nature on the ladder. It's not like it's unplayable. But I think that I think we should always be inviting new leader abilities. I think these are some of the most important nerfs because in a lot of cases, this involves one change of one card in your deck, but it still makes the decks less attractive. But people really hang on to my points. I mean, all love to everybody who comments on my videos and gives criticisms to my stuff, but I just want to say that I have seen comments where people will say this many points for this many provisions. I don't think it's worth it. But practically in game, the provisions don't matter. The combo matters. The combo is what gives you leverage. The combo is what runs away and your opponent can't handle. These are the things that give you the edge to win by the 1 or 10 points you win by, whatever. So hanging on to like, oh, I'm just not getting the maximum amount of value. Obviously playing the value game in a lot of situations, these decks, competitive decks really support that because it's just about making those points and doing it in an unfair way. But I think that these nerfs don't prevent the most dangerous combos from existing. It just means that you can't play it with the same level of risk. You can't play it and also play like all this tough stuff at bronze. And 1 point usually doesn't take that away. Just makes the decisions harder. And I think that's fine. Especially for Syndicate, where you are really always working around combos. But the bronze situation is super interesting for Syndicate. It's super interesting. So those are the changes. I like them. I tweeted out that I didn't like all the changes. And I think that was probably, let's say that is maybe not, it's not true. I guess it's just the way I would look at it is I felt like Northern Realms could have used one other change because Northern Realms I don't think was so strong overall that the faction couldn't have used like a Crones treatment to make something a little bit more like, that looks cool. Let me try that. I just think that there are some cards out there that like Death Mold I think is the best example. I gotta say, Death Mold has to be one of the best examples. When you compare it to a card like I mean, even Free Company for neutral. Like, Isengrim is so damn good for his value that I think... But Isengrim wasn't touched here, and even I haven't seen a lot of Isengrim competitively because Precision Strike... I think Elves come back here. I think Elves come back here in Masters. But we'll see. I really don't know anymore. There's been so many changes since Elves were good. Have there been enough changes to put it at Dwarf status where it's like, yeah, I could see how it could win, but... it's just not quite as good. Let me know what you think, my friends. That's just my patch review. I'm going to cut it here. And the next video you're going to get from me is some gameplay, and we're going to talk about what decks we're going to build on the road to Masters. Thanks for watching, my friends. If you liked the video, show me, tell me, and I'll see you for the next video. Thanks very much.